Part 3, Underwater World. Brownie Elf was about to enjoy some tea with her grandmother when Jamila, Campbell, and Alejandra let her know they were ready for another water adventure. So Brownie Elf and Grandmother Elf packed up their tea and sweets and with a poof got themselves to the pier. A strange object bobbed in the water nearby. "Over here!" the elf called out to the girls. "What is that?" asked Alejandra. "A submarine, maybe," said Jamila. "Looks like a spaceship to me," said Campbell. "Good thinking, both of you," said Grandmother Elf. "It's a small ship used for deep-sea exploring. It's called a submersible, sub for short. Oh, and I'm Brownie Elf's grandmother from Scotland. I've brought homemade snacks for your voyage." She showed them her basket with yummy-looking sandwiches and cookies, which she called biscuits. She also carried a big jug of tea. "Hello, and thank you," the girls said. "Ready to come aboard?" Brownie Elf asked. "Maybe we'll see sunken treasure," said Jamila. "Or a dolphin," Alejandra added. "Let's get going. There's lots to see," Brownie Elf said. "Who wants to drive this sub first?" The girls looked at one another with wide eyes. "It's not hard to learn," said Brownie Elf as she opened the hatch and helped her grandmother in. "I'll show you every step along the way." "May I go first?" asked Campbell. "Certainly," said the elf. "Everyone, hop aboard." Jamila and Alejandra strapped themselves in, each beside a porthole. Campbell sat in the pilot's seat, slipped into her seatbelt, and waited for her instructions. Brownie Elf and her grandmother sat on either side of her. "Okay, push the on button," Brownie Elf said. The sub gurgled and roared. Bubbles floated around. "First level, first button, right?" "That's right, the sunlight zone," the elf said. Down the sub went, passing huge plants that, together, looked like waving forests. Tiny shrimp swarmed the plant's leaves. A harbor seal swam by, and then a purple-striped jellyfish. Hundreds of little anchovies raced past, a whole school. "Those plants look like big trees," said Jamila. "That's kelp, a very big kind of seaweed," said Grandmother Elf. "All kinds of things get made from seaweed. Even ice cream has seaweed in it." "Now," she said, "let's find a coral reef. My wee home in Scotland is surrounded by water, but it's too chilly for coral to live there." Brownie Elf smiled. "We'll see a coral reef soon. Campbell, push the slow button as we get closer. We don't want to disturb the coral. Lots of coral together form reefs. The reefs are home to lots of sea life. And those reefs help people too. They make useful things like medicines." Campbell slowed the sub just as a bright new underwater world popped into view. "The reef is so beautiful," said Alejandra, taking out her notebook. "I'm going to sketch it. Then I can make a painting of it when I get home." "Look at the colors," said Jamila. "Even more than in a rainbow." "It's like a giant aquarium. So many creatures. We can't possibly count them all," Campbell said. Grandmother Elf pointed out spiny sea urchins, ink-squirting cuttlefish, jellyfish lit up like neon signs, bright blue Christmas tree worms, and a white-topped coral crab. There were big whale sharks, too, and giant manta rays. "Hey, there's a dolphin," said Alejandra. "I got my wish." "So many different creatures live in this one sea community," Grandmother Elf explained. "That's why it's important to keep the ocean clean. A clean ocean helps coral. It keeps coral healthy. If coral isn't healthy, plants and fish can't live in it." The girls nodded and spent a long time looking at the awesome underwater sights. Finally, Grandmother Elf spoke again. "Do you know we've been watching silently for an hour?" she asked. "That's a lovely thing to do, isn't it? Just taking in the wonders of the world. That's the best way to love nature." "An hour already?" Campbell said. "I guess it's time for someone else to drive. Who's next?" Jamila slid into the pilot's seat. When her finger neared the middle button, Brownie Elf nodded. Jamila pushed, and the sub gurgled again, going down and down, much deeper than scuba divers go. The light outside the sub changed from soft green to almost gray like twilight. "Better turn on the headlights," Brownie Elf said. "That's why this part of the sea is called the Twilight Zone." "Whoa," said Jamila as the lights came on. "Look at that jellyfish with polka dots. You can see right through it. And are those mountains?" "They're called seamounts," Brownie Elf explained. "Thousands of years ago, they were volcanoes, but only the tops of them can be seen. They're like mountains in the sea." As the sub plunged farther down, past twilight into the dark, what looked like a large building glided by. "Wow, what's that?" the girls shouted. "Just a whale going down for dinner," Brownie Elf said with a laugh. "Let's follow." Jamila steered the sub carefully, following the whale's powerful tail as the animal went deeper and deeper before it leveled off. "How far down are we?" asked Alejandra. More than half a mile," said Brownie Elf. "This is where some whales come to feed. It's the midnight zone." Watching the whale feed gave Grandmother Elf an idea. "Are you girls hungry too?" she asked, opening her picnic basket. While they were enjoying their sandwiches and biscuits and tea, the girls felt the sub shake a little. Then they heard a loud boom. The whale turned with a start and glided away. "It's so huge, but the noise seemed to scare it," said Campbell. "That's too bad." "It isn't just pollution from runoff and trash that can hurt sea life," said Grandmother Elf. "Sometimes noise is pollution, too. And water noises sound louder than on land, and they carry farther. Deep-sea creatures can be disturbed by them." "How much deeper does the ocean get?" asked Alejandra. "The deepest parts of the ocean floor are more than 5 miles down. Too far for this short trip," said Brownie Elf. "Allie, why don't you drive now?" As Alejandra moved the sub deeper, the ocean looked darker. A light flashed up ahead, and then to the side, and then another, like silent fireworks. "Do you think there are other explorers down here?" asked Campbell. "Are those headlights?" "No," said Brownie Elf. "Those are sea creatures that give off light. It's the only light in this complete darkness. Many deep-sea creatures can make their own light from chemicals in their bodies." "Like fireflies in the summer?" asked Campbell. "Exactly," said Brownie Elf. "Look ahead." In a beam from the sub's headlights, the girls could see the strangest creatures yet. Sea worms and huge eels floated by, as did a fish with a flashlight on top of its head. There were fish with long tails and see-through creatures that looked like they were made of glass. "There's a red light over there," said Campbell. "Another fish," said Brownie Elf. "These creatures tend to stay in one place, flashing their lights to attract mates or food. The one with the lamp on his head is an anglerfish." The girls sat quietly amazed. Finally, Alejandra asked, "Is it cold out there?" "Close to freezing," said Brownie Elf. "But other places in the sea have warm water spurting up, so the water is almost hot there." "What an awesome world down here," said Jamila. "I'd like to stay longer and see it all." "Maybe you'll invent a sub of your own someday," said Campbell. As the sub began to slowly rise toward home, Campbell said, "Just because people don't know about the life below, they think it's okay to throw stuff in the ocean. We should tell everyone about life in the deep sea." "Maybe I could make lots of paintings to show," said Alejandra. "Good idea, Allie," said Jamila. "Maybe I'll learn more about subs and how they work." The girls agreed to work together to decide the best way to tell everyone about the wonders of the sea. Grandmother Elf said she liked that idea. It showed they were thinking as a team. Before they knew it, the sub was at the surface. Brownie Elf popped the hatch. "After you," the girls said to Grandmother Elf before stepping out. "Now it's your turn to tell others what you saw," Brownie Elf told the girls. "We will," the girls said as they waved goodbye. Grandmother Elf and Brownie Elf waved back, and then, with 2 poofs, they disappeared.